Hello everyone, and welcome to the Columbia School Linguistics channel. My name is Daan van Soeren, and the title of this video is Lexical Stress in Columbia School Phonology, which may be a bit of a confusing title if you don't know what these words mean, so I'll break it down for you. So lexical stress is also called word stress in English, which basically means that every lexical word in English and Dutch and Spanish, for example, has one stressed syllable. We say university, not university, for example. And Columbia School Phonology, what is that? Well, it's a radically functional approach to phonology founded by Diver, who argued that the structure of language is a direct result of its communicative function and reflects the nature of its users, human beings, you and me. So as people use language, they try to achieve maximum communication with minimal effort, because human beings are lazy. And the more scientific term for that is efficient. People are efficient. And the balance between these two factors shapes the structure of language. But what is it exactly what the Columbia School Phonologist does? Well, we try to find an explanation for the non-random distribution of phonemes. And to give you an example from Spanish, in the word pan, which means bread in Spanish, we have three phonemes, b, a, n, of which the first consonant is a labial consonant. It's pronounced with the lips. And the last consonant of the word, n, is a coronal consonant, which means it's pronounced with the front part of the tongue. And what's interesting to know about labial consonants, like p in pan, is that they're highly visible. As you pronounce p, you can actually see the lips move. And in many Columbia School Phonology studies, we have found high proportions of visible consonants at the beginnings of words and high proportions of coronal consonants at the ends of words, which is remarkable because given a large set of words in a language, you might expect that phonemes are distributed evenly within the words, but that's not the case. The position within the word is apparently a relevant factor. But why is this distribution not random? Why are phonemes not distributed randomly within words? That's the issue we will be discussing in this video. And we will focus on the distribution of visible consonants in Castilian Spanish. So that will be the labial consonants in that language, b, b, m, f. And also the th sound, because as you pronounce the th sound in Castilian Spanish, the tip of the tongue goes beyond the front teeth, which makes it a highly visible consonant as well. So again, why is the distribution of phonemes not random? Well, a very important explanatory principle is that of word recognition. As we proceed through an individual communication, so that may be a story a friend is telling you, or just a phrase, just a sentence, the accumulation of the information makes it progressively easier to anticipate what will come next. Let's give you an example from Spanish again. If in a restaurant or cafe we hear the sentence, quisiera una taza de, I would like a cup of, we're in a very specific setting, and the last word is probably going to be a drink, a beverage. So similarly, at the word level, every pronounced phoneme eliminates a large number of word candidates, which makes the identification of the word progressively easier. So initially, the hearer knows nothing, therefore the beginning of the word is least predictable, but the beginning of the word eliminates a large number of word candidates, a large number of word options, which makes the end of the word far more predictable than the beginning of the word. So if we go back to the same example, if in a Spanish restaurant we hear the sentence, quisiera una taza de ca, I would like a cup of co. The last word is unlikely to be any other than café, coffee. Because initially the hearer knows nothing, that makes the first part of the word, ca, least predictable and eliminates most word options, which means the last part of the word is very predictable and much more predictable than the beginning of the word. And that means that the beginning of the word and the end of the word are not equal in their communicative importance, which Diver calls communicative load. So if we go back to the example, the beginning of the word has a high communicative load and the end of the word has a low communicative load. And this communicative load is relevant in the distribution of phonemes, and I will explain you why. So at the beginning of the word, maximum communication is favoured because the demand for information is high. And visible consonants have a communicative advantage because they can be seen as well as heard, which means they provide an additional clue, which is very welcome where the demand for information is high. As opposed to the end of the word, where efficiency of pronunciation is favoured. The end of the word is more predictable anyway. We don't need to make as much of an effort, and articulatory ease is favoured. And that part of the story is outside of the scope of this presentation. We will be focusing at the favouring of visible consonants in positions of high communicative load. To illustrate this principle, we will have a look at the distribution of visible consonants in a very specific Spanish word type. What we did here is collect all Spanish words of the CV syllabic structure, which means consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel, like in the word pájaro, which means bird, with stress in the first syllable, and ballena, which means whale, with stress in the second syllable. Now, the position of the stress is not relevant for now. We will get there later. But for now, what's relevant to know is that we're comparing the first consonant with the second consonant and the third consonant. So in the word pájaro, that would be p, g, r. And in the word ballena, that would be b, y, n. So we're comparing consonant 1 with consonant 2 and consonant 3. Like in figure 1, we're comparing consonant 1, consonant 2, and consonant 3, and the proportion of visible consonants in those positions is shown on the vertical axis. Now, what we see here is that almost half of all Spanish CV words starts with a visible consonant, compared to only 28% in medial position and 13% in final position. This is a lovely example of how visible consonants are favoured at the beginning of the word, where the communicative load is high. And there's a strong decrease of the proportion of visible consonants as the word progresses, with the lowest proportion of visible consonants at the end of the word. In favour of another category of consonants, but again, the type of consonants that are favoured where the communicative load is low is outside of the scope of this presentation. In summary, every pronounced phoneme eliminates a number of word options, a number of word candidates, which means that the beginning of the word is less predictable than the end of the word, which is most predictable. And this influences the distribution of phonemes. What we've shown here is that there's actually a correlation between communicative load and the distribution of consonants in Spanish. So thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, give us a massive thumbs up and subscribe to this channel for more videos on Columbia School Linguistics. There are many more to come.